I want to share what type 1 diabetes really is. There is a lot of misconception out there, a lot of stigmas around this disease. First, it's autoimmune. It's not prevented, there's no cure, cannot ever be reversed, doesn't matter what you eat. Type 1 diabetes is autoimmune. And that means that the pancreas stops functioning, it stops producing insulin. So the person, the type 1 diabetic, is forced to act as their own pancreas for the rest of their life. And you do not realize how much the pancreas does until it does absolutely nothing. Okay, so our daughter was diagnosed with type 1 when she was 10, and we were very clueless at the time about this disease and had no idea how much work is involved. So not only does that person need to inject insulin to live, right? You have to have insulin every time they eat. So whether it's a meal or a snack, because the pancreas isn't making it, you have to inject it. And then she gets a long-acting insulin, and that stays kind of in her system for 24 hours. And her blood sugar is affected. When I say everything, I mean literally everything. Her blood sugar has been affected from taking a shower, from the heat, from riding her bike, the female hormones, being stressed, being sick can affect blood sugar. And then of course what they eat. And type 1s have to count carbs because that is how they determine how much insulin they will need for that particular meal or snack. So you are counting everything. For example, I can tell you, doing this as long as we have, 1 tablespoon of ketchup is 5 carbs. And yes, that has to be counted. So you count the carbs for the snack or the meal, and every type 1 is different. Every type 1 has a different ratio for carbs to insulin. And she knows how to do that herself now. But we have an app that we use, and we keep track of it. And she gets X amount of insulin for X amount of carbs. And obviously every meal is different. And you're constantly monitoring, making decisions ahead of time, going backwards, thinking about, the meal before, the activity level, what's to come. Maybe their body isn't responding as well to the insulin as you would like. So you make a judgment call to, give them a half a unit more. That always makes me nervous, and you always cringe. Another thing with type 1s is even injecting insulin, they experience high blood sugar and low blood sugar. This just happens. It's a part of the disease. A low blood sugar needs to be dealt with immediately, meaning 70 or lower. We don't wait until she's at 70. She has a continuous glucose monitor that we're able to catch it before it gets to 70. I don't like that feeling of 0 to 60. I can't stand it. It gives me a lot of anxiety. So the low blood sugar needs to be dealt with immediately. Yes, even in the middle of the night. Type 1 does not care if you're at a wedding, if you're in the middle of a funeral, if you are in the middle of taking a test, if you are babysitting, if you are at the nail salon having your nails done, and if you're sleeping at 3 a.m. A low blood sugar needs immediate attention. A high blood sugar needs insulin. And if it occurs in the middle of the night, if you're over 350, you need insulin. And you're always watching and waiting. Is the blood sugar going to go low? Is the blood sugar going to go high? And you're always you're calculating. All right, we did this with this meal. She did this last night differently that she normally hasn't done. She went skating, and over the middle of the night, she dropped a little bit. She's a little bit lower than her target blood sugar, which the perfect blood sugar is 100, but normal blood sugar is 80 to 120. So we're always gauging, you're always monitoring, and I don't care what anybody says. Type 1, I mean, yes, you can, live your life and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, sometimes type 1 drags us around by our nose. I mean, it does. There are some nights where you feel like you can't catch a break. Some days you feel like are very long. And sometimes when you feel like you know what you're doing, or you think you have outsmarted type 1, your confidence level can be taken down quite a few levels, because it can throw you for a loop. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason as to why their blood sugar is what it is. You're always learning and adjusting, and then their body is changing if they were diagnosed as a child, so their needs change. And also females obviously deal with the female hormones, and for a week out of the month, it makes their blood sugar haywire. I've stopped trying to understand it because it could literally lead you to insanity. Sometimes you just have to ride the insanity train and hang on, because eventually it will chill out. But it's a very demanding disease, and it's 24/7, and it is a family disease. My daughter isn't, she has type 1, yes, but it's not like we don't help her or take care of her, or so we're always kind of on the lookout for anything that we could see that could be bad news with her blood sugar. We try to get ahead of the curve. Sometimes you don't. Anyway, that is what type 1 diabetes is. And if you know someone with type 1, or you've ever heard the terminology type 1 diabetic or diabetes, just know that it is autoimmune, and they work their butts off. When they are treating a low, they essentially are saving their life. So to treat a low, carbs are needed. So something that's fast. That's not the time to sit around and slowly, casually enjoy a meal. You need to get carbs in fast. So juice, Starburst, Skittles, something sugary and quick. There are slow carbs and fast carbs. Obviously, when you are treating a low blood sugar, you want it to be fast. Personality changes occur with a high blood sugar and with a low blood sugar. For my daughter, a high blood sugar makes her kind of irritable, kind of short-tempered, and hungry, which is a cruel joke, because when they're high like that, they really shouldn't be eating. I mean, if she were to eat, she would just get insulin for it. And then a low makes her kind of whiny, non-compliant. One time I was giving her a juice for a low, and she decided she didn't like that flavor. And that's not the time to just enjoy. You're just getting the carbs in you to raise your blood sugar. You don't even have to enjoy it or like it. I mean, I know that sometimes when you're in a low blood sugar and you're type 1, you feel like you're getting to enjoy a treat for free, right? Because you're not going to give yourself insulin if you're having a low blood sugar. It's a lot of work. It's hard, and I would like to kind of clear up some of the misconceptions in type 1 and the stigma. And for some reason, it's been really hard to advocate, just me, myself, as a mom of a type 1. I'm not a nonprofit, I'm not a business, but to grab people's attention and say, hey, listen to me, it's been difficult. But I'm just going to keep sharing the information that we learned the hard way. I'm probably going to do one on her diagnosis story and the signs and symptoms that we missed leading up to her diagnosis here on this channel. So, all right, that's what type 1 diabetes is.